Very good morning to one and all present here, and thank you for joining us at the Tone Day National E-Conference on National Education Policy 2020. A very warm welcome to the respected dignitaries and the incredible guests. I am so grateful to welcome our students to the National E-Conference on NEP 2020. I am Ms. Tanvi Limbacha, faculty of ZSCT Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Mumbai. I feel privileged to open this event and stand here where many accomplished people who I admire and looked up to once stood. A very special welcome to our chief guest, Dr. Gitali Tilak, and keynote speaker, Dr. Deepak Ravekar. They truly set a benchmark for multi-hyphenated achievements. I express my gratitude to our esteemed principal, Dr. Sharat Kulari, for their approval. They have assisted us is not just our development, but also in enhancing our creativity and knowledge. And last but not the least, a heartfelt thanks to our esteemed lecturers, without whom would we incomplete the event. They were always here to assist and advise us in unimaginable ways. They helped us with the development of ideas in research and execution of those ideas. It's my pleasure to walk you through the conference, introduce you to the organizing institute, speakers, and delegates. They have come from all over the country today to share their knowledge and enhance our mental horizon, making this conference a truly national conference in spirit. Such conferences was the only way people could enhance their knowledge and share a difference of opinion on a common platform. This national education policy is jointly organized by ZSCT Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Kandivali East, Mumbai, and KLE Society's College of Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, Navi, Mumbai. I am proud to introduce Mumbai University. The University of Mumbai is one of the oldest and premier universities of India. The University of Mumbai, informally known as Mumbai University, is collegiate public state university located in the city of Mumbai, Maharashtra, India. The University of Mumbai is one of the largest universities in the world. The university in 2013 had 711 affiliated colleges. Ratan Tata is the appointed head of Mumbai University's Advisory Council. Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College was entrenched in the academic year 2016 and is approved by Government of Maharashtra and affiliated to the University of Mumbai. It fulfills all the norms and standards set by the University of Mumbai. Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College is located at the 90 feet Road, Thakur Complex, Kandivali East, Mumbai. Mr. V.K.C., Chairman of Thakur Educational Trust, Mumbai, and Rajesh Singh, CEO of ZSCT Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Mumbai. They are backbone of our institute. Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College provides extensive collegiate and co-curricular experiences for students. Host of activities in which students learn leadership skills, expand their academic horizon, and celebrate cultural diversity as reflected in the mission statement. Tsdc will provide benchmark career goals with the high level of excellence and fostering education that is accessible, affordable, and innovative. At present, Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College are running following professional courses of 3 years undergraduate program: BSc Hospitality Studies, BA Culinary Arts, BA MMC, BSc Microbiology, BSc CS, BSc IT, BMS, BCom in Banking and Insurance, BCom in Accounting and Finance, BSc Aeronautics in Avionics, BSc Aeronautics in Mechanical. The students are assessed through a well-defined continuous assessment system examination conducted by the University of Mumbai. The successful candidates are awarded graduate in respective specialization by the University of Mumbai. The students are widely accepted by the private as well as public sector industries and organizations. Now I welcome KLE Society College, Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, Navi, Mumbai, which is taking effort to organize this conference, and it's my great time to talk about few words of this university. So about KLE Society. Karnataka Lingayat Education Society was established on 13th November 1916 by seven dedicated teachers called Saptarshis, who were determined to serve and sacrifice their lives for the upliftment of the communities through education, which is one of the essential constituent of life. The vibrant 102-year-old KLE Society, led by Chairman Dr. Prabhakar Kore, has taken the institution to an unimaginable height of success during his tenure of over 3 decades. The student fraternity happened to be well over 1.5 lakhs, ably guided and supported by more than 15,000 caretakers, are very much part and parcel of KLE Parivar. The society emphasizes on the sound mind and healthy body for spiritual enlightenment and social transformation. Despite of his gigantic achievement, KLE Society is never complacent with its present achievement. KLE College of Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, is one of the proud branches of KLE Society situated in Karnataka. The college has been emerging into a strong education institute since its time to inception in 2013. It is committed to provide excellent education service through the union of truth, love, service, sacrifice, which are the ideal of the KLE Society. KLE College Kalamboli comprises of undergraduate and postgraduate program in Faculty of Science and Commerce, as well as the specialty program like BSc IT, BCom, BMMC, BMS, and BCom BI. The college always aspired towards providing quality education to its highly qualified and dedicated staff and various resources to be a learner forever is the vision to be achieved. Now we start our conference with E7.
गणनायकाय गणदैवताय गणाध्यक्षाय धीमहि गुणशरीराय गुणमण्डिताय गुणेशानाय धीमहि गुणातीताय गुणाधीशाय गुणप्रविष्टाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि एकदन्ताय वक्रतुण्डाय गौरीतनयाय धीमहि गजेशानाय भालचन्द्राय श्रीगणेशाय धीमहि.
Now we will have our national anthem. The national anthem underlines the importance of India as a diverse nation. It signifies that despite difference in culture, traditions, religion, and languages, India is united under one flag. This today's great event is organized in Maharashtra. तो आज महाराष्ट्र गीत से महाराष्ट्र का गुणगान करते हैं.
ही माय भूमी ही जन्मभूमी ही कर्मभूमी अमुची महावंदनीय अति प्राणप्रिय ही माय मराठी अमुची. ही माय भूमी ही जन्मभूमी ही कर्मभूमी अमुची महावंदनीय अति प्राणप्रिय ही माय मराठी अमुची. हा अमुचा आहे बाणा ही अमुची आहे बोली अस्मानी झळके भव्य पताका भगव्या हजरी पटक्याची. महाराष्ट्र भूमी ही जन्मभूमी ही कर्मभूमी अमुची महावंदनीय अति प्राणप्रिय ही माय मराठी अमुची. राकट देशा कणखर देशा दगडाच्या देशा प्रणाम माझा घ्यावा हे श्री महाराष्ट्र देशा. भीमा वरदा कृष्ण कोयना भद्रा गोदावरी एकपणाचे भरती पाणी मातीच्या घागरी. योग्यांची अन संतांची भक्तांची माळकऱ्यांची ही देव देशन धर्मासाठी प्राणवे सप्तसुरांची रंगांची अष्टकलांची काव्याची शास्त्र विनोदाची ही भूमी साहित्याची महाराष्ट्र भूमी ही जन्मभूमी ही कर्मभूमी अमुची महावंदनीय अति प्राणप्रिय ही माय मराठी अमुची ही माय भूमी ही जन्मभूमी ही कर्मभूमी अमुची महावंदनीय अति प्राणप्रिय ही माय मराठी अमुची.
Our institute is affiliated with Mumbai University. तो मुंबई यूनिवर्सिटी के गीत से यूनिवर्सिटी को नमन करते हैं.
इदं सुन्दरं मन्दिरं शारदाया मुम्बापुरी विश्वविद्यालयम्. इदं सुन्दरं मन्दिरं शारदाया मुम्बापुरी विश्वविद्यालयम्. कलाशास्त्रवाणिज्यशाखाभिरूढा अमूढा विमुक्ता विहङ्गा वयम्. शृण्वन्तु सर्वे दृढं निश्चयम्. शृण्वन्तु सर्वे दृढं निश्चयम्. इदं सुन्दरं मन्दिरं शारदाया मुम्बापुरी विश्वविद्यालयम्. सत्यं वदामो धर्मं चरामो नयामो नृणा दुःखभारं लयम्. सत्यं वदामो धर्मं चरामो नयामो नृणा दुःखभारं लयम्. स्वकाले रतानां सदा जागृतानां भवेत् किं भविष्येति तस्मात् भयम्. शृण्वन्तु सर्वे दृढं निश्चयम्. शृण्वन्तु सर्वे दृढं निश्चयम्. इदं सुन्दरं मन्दिरं शारदाया मुम्बापुरी विश्वविद्यालयम्.
So now I request to Mr. Kunal Thakur for continuing the conference.
Thank you, Tanvi ma'am. Very good morning to one and all present here, and thank you for joining us at National E-Conference on National Education Policy 2020. I, Kunal S. Thakur, faculty of ZSCT Thakur Shyamnarayan, Degree College, Mumbai, welcome the respected dignitaries, the incredible guests, and our students to the International E-Conference. So let's start with inauguration of International E-Conference. I feel privileged to welcome our respected Principal Sir, Dr. Sir Flari. We feel honored to have Sir with us. Sir, you hardly need any introduction. You have made all of us too proud for your distinguishing work in numerous capacities. Transitions are never easy in any other practice stage of the life. Our principal is a man of the great nurtures who taught the student to put their energy into making the college cultural events very successful. You are one of the different and respected dignitaries. Now I take the opportunity to introduce the wise and prominent personality, Dr. Sarath Flari. Sir has 21 years teaching experience as an associate professor, 8 years experience as a principal. He organized 33 conferences, 4 research projects completed under his guidance. He has published 8 books and 85 papers in different national and international contexts. Experience as NSS program officer and cultural coordinator. He awarded as a best teacher and best college by Mumbai University. Sir is the man with distinct vision and a fountainhead of illuminating ideas, an idol of knowledge and experience with inspiration to all of us. Our honorable principal will address the inauguration of great event. I am confident that their speech will not be just a collection of words, but a strong motivation speech. Sir, we eager to hear you.
When Huizinga, the great philosopher, said, some people dream of success, while other people get up every morning and make it happen. So, we are the people got up for many more mornings to make it happen the National E-Conference on National Education Policy. Very good morning to all of you. Very good morning and warm welcome to all of you for participating in today's national conference on National Education Policy of India, which is framed in the 2020 or the 2020. Good morning and warm welcome to the chief guest, Dr. Geetali Tilak, Vice Chancellor of Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapith, Pune, and keynote speaker, Honorable Dr. Deepak Ravekar, Principal of Sundarrao More College, Kolhapur, Raigad District. Good morning and affectionate greetings to Honorable Chief Patron V.K. Singh Sir and Patron Honorable Rajesh Singh Sir of Thakur Education Trust and Jagru Singh Charitable Trust, Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Mumbai, for blessings and support for today today's national conference with the theme National Education Policy 2020. Good morning and warm welcome. Good morning and warm greetings to Honorable Dr. Prabhakar Kore Sir, Chairperson of KLE Society, Belgavi, and to Honorable Mahantesh Kavatgi Mutt Sir, who is Chairman of Governing Body of KLE Society, Belgavi. Good morning and enthusiastic welcome to Honorable Dr. Giri Sir, Principal of KLE College, Kalamboli, for kind association for this national conference, along with Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Mumbai. Cordial salutation, fond greetings to conveners, organizing committee members, researchers, participating delegates, and dear students. So, this I repeat because it's a very important to say cordial salutation, fond greetings to the conveners of this national conference, to the organizing committee members, cordial salutation to the researchers, fond greetings to the participating delegates, and of course, cordial salutation and the fond greetings to the very dear students. Once again, a very good morning and warm welcome, affectionate greetings, warm greetings, cordial salutation, and fond greetings to everyone of you for this national conference on National Education Policy 2020. India reformed the national education in the 2020 and developed NEP 2020 or NEP 2020. It is for quality education. The reform NEP to 2020 is for the economic growth, is for the social justice. It is meant to social equality, scientific advancement. It is also for the national integration, cultural preservation, and universal access to the quality education. National Education Policy 2020 is for the best way march towards for our country's rich talents and resources. It is very important to say once again, NEP 2020 is for the best way march forward for our country's rich talents and the resources. It is good for the individual, it is good for the society, and of course, it is best for the country. To cope with the Global Education Policy 2030, India implemented National Education Policy 2000. Means it is well in advance. India trying to reform the education because to cope with the Global Education Policy 2030. For today's National Education Policy Conference, the sub-themes are theoretical extension of the new education policy. It is one of the sub-themes. The second sub-theme is challenges and opportunities in the implementation of National Education Policy 2020. The third sub-theme is SWOT, that is SWOT analysis of NEP 2020. Next sub-theme is usefulness in skilling, reskilling and upskilling of NEP 2020. Another sub-theme for this national conference is a revolution of ICT through NEP 2020. Till more sub-theme qualitative analysis of NEP 2020. It is to add as a sub-theme social empowerment through education and NEP 2020. There is still more sub-theme is impact of NEP 2020 in higher education. Comparative analysis between the NEP 1986 and NEP 2020 along with any topic relevant to the NEP 2020. So these are the sub-themes for today's National Education Policy 2020. For today's national conference, the chief guest is Dr. Geetali Tilak Madam. For today's national conference, we are having the very renowned personality as a chief guest, and that is Dr. Geetali Tilak Madam. She is presently Vice Chancellor of Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapit, Pune. Importance of education was foresighted by great social reformer Lokmanya Balgangadhar Tilak. Lokmanya Balgangadhar Tilak established educational institutes to cater the education to deprived society. Honorable Geetali Tilak Madam is representing the family whose generations dedicated to education in India, especially in Maharashtra. The chief guest, Dr. Geetali Tilak Madam, means best personality to justify as chief guest of the today's conference on National Education Policy of India 2020. Honorable Principal Dr. Ravekar Sir is guest of honor for today's National Education Conference. Honorable Dr. Ravekar Sir is having 30 years career in education. Dr. Ravekar Sir was assistant professor, then led as associate professor. He was the BOS member. He was the BOS active member. He played very vital role in the examination section of the University of Mumbai, especially in the commerce. He was examination moderator. Dr. Ravekar sir was paper setter in many more examinations in the commerce. He was examination assessor. Dr. Ravekar sir is presently working as head of the institution, that is principal, in Sundarrao More Senior College at Poladpur of Raigad district. Honorable Dr. Ravekar sir is, as principal, uses education as most powerful weapon to change the society. It's a very important. Honorable Dr. Ravekar sir, as a principal, uses education as most powerful weapon to change the society. In true sense, Principal Dr. Ravekar sir justifying resource person for today's national conference on Indian educational reform process as NEP 2020. Support and backbone for today's conference are nothing but Sri V.K. Singh sir, Chief Patron of Thakur Education Trust, and Sri Rajesh Singh sir, Patron of Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Kandivali East, Mumbai. The great philosopher Adam Savage said that. The great philosopher Adam Savage said that, let us get on our knees and pray. Let us get on our knees and pray. I don't know to whom is there as a chief patron, as a patron saint of ballistic chain. I repeat, let us get on our knees and pray. This is a statement given by the great philosopher Adam Savage. Great philosopher Adam Savage says that, let us get on our knees and pray. I don't know to whom is their chief patron, saint of ballistic jet. It means we all TSDCians wants to get on our knees. Yes, I repeat, all of us as a TSDCians wants to get on our knees and pray to chief patron and patron for their kind concern, for their guidance, and for the motivational support. So it is always a very privilege so as to let us get on our knees and pray for these two great personalities, that is chief patron and patron, for their kind concern, for their kind guidance, and for their motivational support for entire college, and especially for the today's national conference. Efforts are better than the promises. Efforts are better than the promises. The organizing team placed very disciplined effort for the execution of the today's national conference. I repeat, efforts are the better than the promises. The organizing committee placed very disciplined efforts for the execution of today's national conference. Winston Churchill said that Winston Churchill said that continuous efforts is the key to unlocking our potential. Continuous efforts is key to unlocking our potential. Team of conveners led by Dr. Amruta Pawar Madam, Udayvan Yadav Sir, and Milind Gurchand Sir put a continuous efforts to unlocking the potential in terms of the national conference on national education policy of India 2020. Dr. Amruta Madam, Udayvan Sir, and Milind Sir shown that the one thing that matters is the efforts by execution of today's national conference. So, efforts are better than the promises, and it has been proved by the today's team of conveners, and this team of conveners from the Thakur College is represented by Dr. Amruta Madam and Udayvan Sir, while Madhav Sir are representing the KLE College, Kalamboli, New Mumbai. Support system is always important for the execution of the program. Support system is always important for the execution of the program. For today's national conference, the support system is nothing but the organization committee for this national conference. It is worth to mention that efforts of the organization committee it is worth to mention that efforts of the organization committee members are Kunal Thakur sir, Tanvi Limbachia madam, Alifia Sheikh madam, Snehal Patel madam, Tanushri Patil madam, Shamta Chauhan madam, Tushant Wadkar madam, Manisha Raut sir, Manisha Rawat sir are the gems. These are all the gems. These are precious stars who shines to sparkle the national conference on National Education Policy 2020. I repeat, because the support system is very important for execution of today's national conference. The support system working for the last 3 months for the raising the day, and that is today's national conference. So we always say that the support system is always important for the execution of the program. For today's national conference, the support system is organization committee. It is worth to mention that the efforts of the organization committee, of course, it's really important to mention the efforts put by the organization committee. That's why I'm tracing the point and I'm coming with the twice the same way. The members of the organization committee are Kunal Thakur sir, Tanvi Limbachia madam, Alifia Sheikh madam, Snehal Patel madam, Tanushri Patel madam, Shamta Chauhan madam, Tushant Wadkar madam, Manisha Rawat sir are the gems and precious stars who shines to sparkle the national conference on national education. The students, the scholars, the researchers, and the well-wishers of the conference are also important part of this conference. I owe the thanks to every one of you and request to keep on showering the best wishes for grand success of the conference. This is very important that I really owe thanks to every one of you, every one of you that is a well-wisher, every one of you that is the participants, every one of you that is those are the delegates, every one of you those are the researchers. I owe thanks to every one of you and request to keep on showering the best wishes for grand success of the conference. Thanks a lot for everyone. Thanks a lot for everyone being the reason we smile. Thanks a lot for everyone being the reason we smile. Thanks a lot for everyone being here's to those who inspire us and don't even know it. Thanks a lot for the everyone being here to those who inspire us and don't even know themselves that they inspire to someone. So those who inspire us is to those also we are very much thankful. Thanks a lot for everyone for brightening our Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College and KLE College on this occasion of National Conference. Let us hope a great thought churning process on national education policy for a day ahead. Thank you, friends. Once again, wishing all the best and thanks a lot for everyone for participating in this national conference on the National Education Policy 2020. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Now, I feel privileged to welcome respected Principal, sir, of KLE Society's College of Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, Navi, Mumbai, Dr. Ghanshyam Damodar Giri. We feel proud to have sir with us. Sir, you hardly need any introduction. You have made all of us proud with your distinguished work in numerous capacities. Sir has teaching and administration experience of 32 years. Sir has research contribution also with publishing paper in national level and international journals. He has published 13 national level and 11 international papers. He also has many students with MPhil and MBA cadets. Recently he has 2 students in MPhil and 3 students with MBA degree. He is PhD guide in University of Mumbai, and at present 4 students are pursuing PhD degree under his guidance. Sir has specialization in business policy and administration, HR, and commerce and management. He is the man with distinct vision and a founder. Sir is the man with distinct vision and a fountainhead of illuminating ideas. Now, Sir will address the inauguration of the great event, and I am also confident of that these things will be a motivational speech for all. Sir, we eager to hear you now.
A national level e-conference on National Education Policy 2020 has been organized by KLE Society's College of Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, Navi, Mumbai, and Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Kandivali East, Mumbai. I am sure that there will be several deliberations on this new education policy. Dear participants, this policy is going to bring several changes in the education system which will be witnessed by all of us in the role of student, teachers and parents. This education policy shall have several repercussions on the entire system of education which was very much needed in this particular period. The main objective of education is to create quality human resource. This education policy has a lot of scope to incorporate several aspects pertaining to the study of students. Students shall have option to get the knowledge of various fields on the one platform, that is in the college. The changing nature of education system is required to be discussed on various platforms from the perspective of students as well as teachers, and also from the point of view of the researchers. This education policy will create quality human resources in coming years as and when we'll start implementation. And this is the right platform for discussion on this education policy. The outcomes of this conference will be fruitful. Therefore, I take this opportunity to welcome you all on behalf of KLE Society's College of Science and Commerce, and also from Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College. I wish all the best to all participants for their presentations as well as deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words. Now I request Ms. Snehal ma'am for continuing the session.
A very good morning to one and all present here. Now it's time to welcome our chief guest. She is a Vice Chancellor of the Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth, Pune, a Professor of Mass Communication and Dean, Faculty of Modern Sciences and Professional, is an eminent academician. She is a futuristic, enterprising and forwarding-looking young leader heading a 100-year-old university as a Vice Chancellor of officiating. She has proven a track record of striving in uncertainty while consistently building a high-performance-based culture and environment using the strategic insights and thoughts leadership, and thereby accomplishing the organizational goals and objectives. After taking the reign of Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth, she brought several teaching learning innovations, launched a program in media, health sciences and skill development along with the social service initiative to achieve the TMB visions of development, TMB visions of empowering the masses and reaching the unreached. She holds a double doctorate and the highest degree in education, DLITT. She is a ad hoc academician who is a passionate teacher with several research projects under her belt. Her leadership in education and social sciences has been acknowledged and awarded by the various organizations at the state, national, and the international level. She has been actively engaged as a teacher of ever-trending courses like judo and Kalamboli. She also holds a proprietorship of Industrial Tilak Kala Kendra under the name of Grandmother Indutai Tilak, a renowned education and social worker. For her valuable contribution in the field of education, she has been awarded for the Best Young Dean of the Year award below the 40 years of age, an IARE award of Second International Academic and Research Excellence by the Venice International Foundation. She has been received the Utkarsh Granth Nimriti Puraskar in 2019 for Chhawa Diwali edition. She is a recipient of National Mahila Ratna Gold Medal Award and the Best Education Award in 2018 and a reputable Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Sadbhavna Award. She has also been awarded for outstanding contribution to education for GEM of Asia International Excellence and Award Certificate of Excellence by Association for Rising and Talented Personalities and DACCI 2018-19 award, the pillar of Hindustani society for being a lady educator from the diversified discipline. She is a recipient of International Award for Outstanding Achievement and Remarkable Role in the Field of Education by a Global Achievers Foundation, International Award for Outstanding Faculty and for Contribution and Achievement in the Field of Journalism and Mass Communication. Let's welcome the chief guest. She is none other than our chief guest, Dr. Gitali Tilak.
Thank you for the generous introduction and for inviting me. I appreciate Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College for organizing this National E-Conference on National Education Policy 2020, which is a timely and extremely significant initiative. Before we dive deep into discussing the NEP 2020, let me make a few remarks about national education as envisaged by Lokmanya Tilak, which provides a vision to Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth. Bal Gangadhar Tilak's idea of national education encompass emphasis on self-reliance, a mix of skill and knowledge for employability and a combination of traditional and modern education for a progressive nation, which is akin to what is expounded in NEP 2020. Bal Gangadhar Tilak also emphasizes skill development, multilingualism and business education as a graduate attribute. On these foundational principles, Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth has compulsory internship right from 1990s, similar to what apprenticeship embedded degree proposed in the new education policy. However, keeping up the Lokmanya's vision, Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth has recalibrated its approach to education to sync it up with the National Education Policy 2020 by emphasizing upon the 3 I's, that is, interdisciplinary research, industry connect and the internationalization, the 3 pillars needed to elevate our institution to global standards. As multidisciplinary universities are proposed in the National Education Policy, Tilak Maharashtra Vidyapeeth not only strengthening its multidisciplinary scope and offerings but also collaborating with the other universities to leverage its development potential. Being a higher education leader and a practitioner, my focus on NEP in today's session is higher education. The education system needs to transform according to the ever-changing needs of society and the world. Thus, for the overall development of education and the progress of the nation, a proper policy is needed. To discuss the National Education Policy 2020, let's first look at the evolution of education policy in India. As you can see in this slide, the new education policy is not the first attempt to bring reforms. Education in India has evolved through these amendments and the modification over the years. The first commission appointed in independent India was the University Education Commission of 1948 under the chairmanship of Dr. S. Radhakrishnan to report on the status of Indian university education and suggest improvements and extensions that would be desirable to suit the present and future requirements of the country. I won't go into the details of each of these reforms though. The new education policy cleared by the cabinet is only the third major revamp of the framework of the education in India since independence. The two earlier education policies were brought in 1968 and 1986. The first NPE was promulgated by the Government of India by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in 1968. The second by Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1986 and the third by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2020. The recent reforms have been brought after 34 years. This new policy covers elementary education to the colleges in both rural and urban India. It is a comprehensive framework to guide the development of education in the country and aims at making India a global knowledge superpower. The foundational principles of NEP 2020 are access, equity, quality, affordability and accountability. And its vision is to develop an education system rooted in India's ethos and that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharat, sustainably into an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing a high quality education to all, thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. The principles of NEP are recognizing, identifying and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as parents to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. Flexibility so that learners can choose their learning trajectories and programs and thereby choose their paths in life according to their talents and interests. No hard separations between arts and sciences, between curricular and extracurricular activities, between vocational and academic streams, etc. To eliminate harmful hierarchies among the silos between different areas of learning, multidisciplinary and holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities and sports for a multidisciplinary world to ensure the unity and integrity of all knowledge. Emphasis on conceptual understanding rather than rote learning and learning for exams, creativity and critical thinking to encourage the logical decision making and innovation. Ethics and human and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, courtesy, democratic spirit, the spirit of service, respect for public property, scientific temper, liberty, responsibility, pluralism, equality and justice, promoting multilingualism and the power of language in teaching and learning. Life skills such as communication, cooperation, teamwork and resilience. Focus on regular formative assessment for learning rather than the summative assessment that encourages today's coaching culture. Extensive use of technology in teaching and learning, removing language barriers, increasing access of Divyanga students and educational planning and management. Respect for diversity and respect for the local context in all curriculum pedagogy and policy, always keeping in mind the education is a concurrent subject. Full equity and inclusion as the cornerstone of all educational decisions to ensure that all students can thrive in the education system. Synergy in the curriculum across all levels of education from early childhood care and the education to school education to higher education. Teachers and faculties as the heart of learning process, their recruitments, continuous professional development, positive working environment and service conditions. A light but a tight regulatory framework to ensure integrity, transparency and resource efficiency of the educational system through audit and public disclosure while encouraging innovation and out-of-the-box ideas through autonomy. Good governance and the empowerment, outstanding research as a core requisite for outstanding education and development. Continuous review of progress based on sustained research and regular assessment by educational experts, a rootedness and a pride in India and its rich, diverse, ancient and modern culture and knowledge systems and traditions. Education is a public service. Access to quality education must be considered a basic right of every child. Substantial investment is a strong, vibrant public education system as well as the encouragement and facilitation of true philanthropic, private and community participation. We discussed in the last slide that NEP 2020 focuses on 5 pillars: affordability, accessibility, quality, equity and accountability. We also discuss NEP's principles. In this slide, we will discuss major reforms. The NEP 2020 mentions reforms in both school and higher education that prepare the next generation to thrive and compete in the new digital age. Thus, there is much emphasis upon multidisciplinarity, digital literacy, written communication, problem solving, logical reasoning and vocational exposure in the document. The NEP naturally brings about a sea of changes in the system of higher education. One of the main aims of NEP is to overhaul the fragmented nature of India's existing higher education system and instead bring together higher education institutions into a large multidisciplinary universities, colleges and HEI clusters, knowledge hubs. The policy states that the single stream HEI will be phased out over time. Another change that the NEP brings about is that the undergraduate degree will be either a 3 or 4 year duration with multiple exit options within this period, with appropriate certification for those dropping out at a certain point in the course. HEIs will also be able to offer master's courses of different designs based on the undergraduate degree of the student. Interestingly, in keeping with the multidisciplinary approach to education, a new system that the NEP is seeking is to implement is an academic bank of credit ABC, which will be able to digitally store academic credits earned from various recognized HEIs. This will allow degrees from an HEI to be awarded taking into account credits earned. For now, while the NEP states that a system of granting graded autonomy based on accreditation will be adopted for colleges, and eventually the aim is to transform them into an autonomous degree granting college or a constituent college of a university. A change has also been to the regulatory system, with the National Higher Education Regulatory Council set to function as one single regulator for the higher education sector, including teacher education but excluding medical and legal education. Implementation. The NEP 2020 is becoming a reality in several states across India. However, the challenge now is to find the way to implement it in a practical manner that puts it on track to achieve its goals of revolutionizing the education system in India. One of the critical responsibilities of the Department of Higher Education as envisaged by NEP 2020 is the setting up of a new framework for the regulation and maintenance of standards in higher education as per its constitutional mandate. The new framework envisages that distinct, independent and empowered bodies will perform the separate roles of regulation, accreditation, funding and standard setting. Such segregation of functions is necessary to eliminate overlapping jurisdiction, create checks and balances within the system, minimize conflicts of interest and eliminate the concentration of power. NEP 2020 stipulates the formation of these four structures as independent verticals within the Higher Education Commission of India, an umbrella institution to ensure their working synergy. HECI and its associated verticals will come into being through an Act of Parliament, but there are no indications that such a bill is ready yet. Many other legislation will also require modifications, both the center and the state levels, to achieve the flexibility provided by NEP 2020. These include the acts governing the various types of universities and those that mandate the roles of professional councils such as Pharmacy, Council of India, Council of Architecture and others. Over time, many of the latter have assumed regulatory roles, resulting in universities dealing with multiple sets of often conflicting regulations. NEP 2020 requires that these bodies eschew regulation and confine themselves to standard setting for the curriculum outcomes and ethics of their respective disciplines. But the councils are likely to require a lot of persuasions to comply. In a contrarian move, the Bar Council of India (BCI) has beginning January 2021 taken upon itself the role of regulating all aspects of legal education including postgraduate, doctoral, executive, clinical and vocational education. Most of these have nothing to do with BCI's statutory mandate of recognizing enrollment qualifications for advocates. This self-empowerment also comes at the time when most students of law are taking up careers outside the bar in the areas of corporate law, international trade and finance and international arbitration amongst others. NEP 2020's decision to deviate from the vision of the draft NEP 2019 and exclude medical and legal education from the proposed new regulatory architecture may need to be revised in the future, since it prevents the full benefit of the new regulatory architecture and accruing to multidisciplinary HEIs. NEP 2020's recommendation of giving autonomy to all colleges and universities over time rests heavily on the ability of the accreditation framework to certify all HEIs at least once every 5 years. This requirement poses a critical implementation challenge due to the complexity of the task and the speed of the execution it necessitates. The HECI bill and its implementation plan must contain a blueprint for revamping the accreditation system urgently. There is no evidence in the public domain to suggest that the work on this vital task has begun with the necessary urgency. Meanwhile, UGC, the present regulatory cum funding agency, has initiated significant changes to support the NEP. The academic rank of credits ABC, which will allow students to accumulate credits and earn various degrees over time, has been rolled out. Although for only a few institutions, accumulation of credits is likely to be a boon to poor students, especially women who are often forced to drop out from the economic and social reasons. The ABC will support students' mobility across HEIs and support lifelong learning for the youth and adults. The need of the hour is a fast-changing technological world. Other UGC initiatives include guidelines for the multiple exist and multiple entries in the HEIs, apprenticeship, embedded degree programs, and guidelines for the internationalization of higher education, amongst others. Just as the 1986 policy was accompanied by a program of action POA 1992, it may be worth preparing a POA for NEP 2020 to facilitate faster implementation. Overall, 2021 saw HEIs and other stakeholders trying and understanding the spirit of the policy and making their implementation plans in the policy's intended spirit. This year begins on an exciting note as we look forward to many of the transformative changes that will be on the anvil in 2022. As we look forward to the transformative changes at the system level, academic administrators like me are practitioners and implementation of NEP is no less than a challenge for us. I look at the three aspects that are either missing from the policy or make policy implementation at the university level a daunting task. Faculty management and development, equity, diversity and inclusion, and technology in education. The NEP conjures up the image of the courageous, capable, wonder men women who, because they are picked from the best and the brightest, held accountable to standards, incentivized to perform and committed to building the nation, deliver. We have the choice of being persuaded by the policy's optimism about the panacea, but the silence on the matter of improving conditions of the profession leaves us wondering if we will be able to get good faculties to join the profession or keep the ones already in it. Good teaching is an outcome of a sound education system, of which faculty members are a huge part. More will be need to happen at the systematic level beyond individual level incentives to improve the prospects of faculty and through them those to their students. The silences in the policy on faculty development seem to suggest that adequate financing of the profession is not on the cards. The emergence of for-profit players in the continuous professional development and the outsourcing models being adopted in the vocational education and ICT education are indicative, and the market rather than the state will grow in influence. Faculty members will find themselves increasingly facing contractual and casualized employment such that the profession's status is likely to dip even further. It seems likely that despite some references in the policy, it is silences on matters central to the crucial to the profession's turnaround that will truly define the future of the profession. The second aspect is equitable and inclusive education. You can see on the slide the initiatives of NEP mentioned by the MHRD. Socio-economically disadvantaged groups, SEDGs, there are numerous challenges to this broad categorization. There is no acknowledgement of the multiple structural inhibitors that plague communities from succeeding in educational institutions because of the constant discrimination that they face from the multiple sources. Recognition of individuals with special needs. The NEP appears to be overambitious and utopian on this front. The new policy fails to specify a roadmap of how it will make sure that the education is made accessible to these individuals. It also doesn't specify that the change in the curriculum would be to make sure that the student with learning disabilities don't feel excluded. Creation of special educational zones. While this idea is novel and holds promise to transform educational access in inaccessible areas of the country, such as the urban ghettos with substantial minority populations, the policy hasn't specified what the criterion for these zones would be and how will they be distinguished in urban and rural landscapes. The policy has no clear indicator of what would be the determining factors. Ignored digital divide. While there is a lot of focus on using technology in every aspect of education, educational planning, teaching, learning and assessment, administration and management, setting up virtual labs, digitally equipped HEIs, mentoring and setting up forums, the policy neglects the digital divide. The lack of digital infrastructure and access to technological devices, internet. In recent times, the cost of the internet has seen an increase owing to the market monopolies. The issue of the digital divide is even more complex when seen from the lens of the gender, class, caste and urban-rural regional differences. The majority of the learners will be excluded due to the divide, as only 24% of the Indian households have an internet facility. 11% households have a functional computer and little over 15% of rural households have access to the internet. And over-reliance on technology and online programs to achieve set targets is impractical. Challenges. While the NEP has begun gathering a fair degree of momentum, the road to its realization is filled with endless potholes. The infrastructure issue will be the first big challenge for the government, as there are not adequate resources for the educational field. Secondly, the NEP promises 50% GER by 2030. To increase GER to 50% is challenging in itself. We have to open 100 plus new universities and enhance seats in existing universities to double the gross enrollment ratio in the next coming years. The central government has to allocate a particular budget for this. Further, we need motivated, energized and capable faculties in those universities, including other academic and supporting staff. Yes, it will increase employability in the education sector, but funding and management in a short period are quite tricky. Third, the most puzzling part of the NEP is to implement it in spirit. The financial constraints and the state and center relations will be the biggest hurdles in it. The NEP's eventual realization is critically linked to state capacity. For instance, moving away from the rigid content-driven role learning system to experiential learning and critical thinking would require nothing short of a revolutionary change in the attitudes of the people running the education system, let alone the attitudinal changes amongst the teachers, students and the parents. The NEP would also largely hinge on the extent of cooperation between the center and the state. While the NEP has been drafted by the union government with inputs from multiple stakeholders including the state government, its implementation largely depends on the active cooperation of the states. This is because most services related education is performed by the state governments. In short, the center has to skillfully navigate the principles of cooperative federalism and decentralization while rolling out key initiatives. I am sure that this conference would put light upon the challenges and opportunities in the implementation of NEP 2020, and all the stakeholders of the education system would benefit from it. Thank you very much.
Now it's time to welcome our keynote speaker. He has been a principal of Sundrao More Arts, Commerce and Science College of Godar district of Raigad since December 2018. He worked as a vice principal and head of the Department of Commerce at Dr. C.D. Deshmukh Commerce and Sao KG Thamkhane Arts and College Commerce. He has 36 years of experience at UG and PG level. He is a member of Board of Studies in Commerce since March 2018 in University of Mumbai. He has been a member of an advisory committee of NSS University of Mumbai since last 2 years. He has worked as a chief mediator and the chairperson and a member of the paper setting committee since 2008-9 in the subject of marketing and human resource management at TY BCom and strategic management at MCom level. He also worked as a chairman and the member of the local inquiry committee, the syllabus committee, etc. of the University of Mumbai. He has written 20 textbooks for commerce students through the state publisher since 1991. He has also written a six books of UG and PG student of the Institute of Distance Education, University of Mumbai. He has published 48 research papers in peer-reviewed index-printed online journals and presented a research paper in international, national and the state level conferences. He has been invited as a resource person and the chairperson of the session in many conferences, workshops and the seminars and the NSS camps. He is working as a research guide of the four students are currently pursuing the PhD degree under his guidance. He has been working as a referee for the review of the thesis and dissertation as the MPhil and PhD level in Pune and Nagpur University. He has been worked as a referee at Aviskar Research Competition at the zonal level of University of Mumbai. He has also worked as a member of Board of Studies in Commerce at Mahavir College, which is an autonomous institution. He has been worked as a member of editorial board for Edwin and Ajanta International Research Journals. He has also written a book entitled As a Turn Organization Around, is published by Lulu International Publication. Now let's welcome he is none another than Dr. Deepak Revekar, the principal of Sundrao More Arts, Science and Commerce College of Goladpur.
Good morning to one and all. Today we are together here on the occasion of E-National Conference organized by the Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College, Kandivali, in collaboration with the KLE Society's College of Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, on the theme of the National E-Conference on the Education Policy NEP 2020. Education is the fundamental for achieving full human potential, developing an equitable and just society and promoting national development. So the colleges have rightly chosen the theme for the E-National Conference, that is the E-Education Policy. On this occasion, the chief guest, Dr. Gitali Tilak, Vice Chancellor, Tirak Maharashtra Vidyapit, Pune, is present here. The chief patron, Mr. V.K. Singh, Chairman of Thakur Education Trust. The patron, Mr. Rajesh Singh, CEO of Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College. Dr. Prabhakar Koreji, ex-MP, the Chairman of KLE Society, Belgavi. Mr. Mahantesh Kavantonki Mutt, Governing Body Chairman, KLE Society, Belgavi. My friend Dr. Sharat Fulari, the Principal of Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College and the Principal of KLE Society Degree College of Science and Commerce, Kalamboli, Dr. G.D. Giri, the convener of the conference, the organizing committee, the participants and the students in the conference. Dear friend, we are going to discuss today on the National Education Policy 2020. National Education Policy has a long history. After the independence, the first education policy of India, announced in 1968 on the recommendations of Education Commission 1964-1965, and it was implemented from 1968. At that time, the Prime Minister were Mrs. Indira Gandhi. Thereafter, the second education policy of India announced in 1986. It was well known by the Kothari Commission. At that time, the Prime Minister was Honorable Rajiv Gandhi. Some modifications were done at the time of the Prime Minister Narsingh Rao in 1992. And thereafter, the 34 years were passed and no new policy was introduced. So 2020 is the new education policy prepared after the 34 years. And we may say this is the first policy of the 21st century. This policy was prepared under the panel having the 9 members in a committee headed by former ISRO chief K. Kasturi Rangan, and they have submitted a draft of the policy in 2018 after getting the number of the feedbacks from all the corners of the country and from all the stakeholders. This policy was made public after the Lok Sabha election in May 2019. After getting the feedback and taking the corrections therein, the Union Minister of Information and Broadcasting, Sri Prakash Javadekar, and HRD Minister Ramesh Pokhriwal Nishank made announcement of this National Education Policy 2020. This new policy aims at making India a global knowledge superpower. As we said, the education is a fundamental for the human development. Without the education, the human beings cannot give their utmost potential, or they may not be developed properly, and therefore the role of education is very important in the development of the human being, for the nourishment of their culture, for increasing their attributes. And therefore, a new education policy particularly focused on the India, a global knowledge superpower. We know in the ancient period, the India has given the many well-known people to the world, as the universities in ancient India like Takshashila, Nalanda, Vikramshila, Vallabhi, they have set the highest standards in the multidisciplinary teaching and research, and hosted scholars like the Nagarjuna, Patanjali, Brahmagupta, Chanakya, Chakrapani Datta, Bhaskaracharya, Aryabhatta. The many names can be taken. And the same heritage is to be continued, and the India has to give a knowledge to the global, and that's why the aim of this new education policy is India a global knowledge superpower. This policy emphasis on the development of the creative potential of each individual. Each individual here clearly states that this policy is inclusive. Nobody should remain from the touch of the education, and therefore this policy emphasis on the creative potential, whatever the skills or the attributes the person possess must be developed. This rich heritage of the ancient and eternal knowledge and thought has been a guiding light for this NEP. India have a rich heritage, and this eternal Indian knowledge and thought has been a guiding light for this policy. The pursuit of the knowledge or wisdom and the truth was always considered in Indian thought and philosophy. In this policy, the teacher is considered as a center of the fundamental reforms. In the education system, the teacher always remain in a center because he or she plays a very important role for giving the education pedagogies. Therefore, this national education policy is important for the quickly changing employment landscape and global ecosystem, and this particular target is to be focused the children not only to learn but more importantly learn how to learn. Basically, the education covers the many subjects, covers the many streams, and in that particular subjects or the streams, the educationist tries to give the content to the learners. The children learn that subjects or the stream, but they forget how to learn, and that's why this new policy stress on the somewhat different feature. There will be the less content, and the policy will stress on the proper development of the students for understanding the situation. The less content and more towards the learning about how to think critically, how to solve the problems. At present, we are observing the many problems in the students community. The students becomes very emotional. The students are not concentrating on the development of their skills, and therefore it is a prime duty of any education system to nourish the student, to develop the students from the all points of the view, and they should learn how to think critically and solve their own problems. And that's why the policy also stress on its creativity or the multidisciplinary. The major important focus of this policy is given on the multidisciplinary. A specific discipline like language or the arts or the science, this specific discipline methods or the pedagogy will not be stressed or focused, but it will be the multidisciplinary, and that's why this new policy is important for the development of the students properly. In this, pedagogy must evolve to make the education more interesting, the more experimental, more holistic, or the integrated. As in the beginning, I have given the examples of the ancient universities like Takshashila or the Nalanda, and that universities were the multidisciplinary and giving the more stress on the experiment, and the holistic approach means the total coverage of the things, and that's why the integrity of the different subject, the coordination amongst the different disciplines is to be incorporated in this policy. This new policy is discovery oriented, inquiry driven, and the learner centered. The learner, right from his childhood to the higher education, must be concentrated, and according to his ability or the understanding, the policy should provide the content or the syllabus of the different grades. And that's why this policy is to be focused on the discussion based, flexible, and that should be the enjoyable also. It means that the policy particularly focused on the learner's development and it should be the enjoyable. We are seeing in the process of this education, the many children remain deprived from the education, and that is because of the tediousness in the education system or the burden of the syllabus on their mind, and this also gives the dropouts. This also results into the dropouts. So the dropouts should be controlled. The students right from his childhood should be attracted, and that's why that education should be the enjoyable. So these specific things I have been focused here on this national education policy, and the committee and the head of this committee, Dr. Honorable Kasturi Ranjan, has specifically given the importance of these different principles, because education policy is not just 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. We have to change the entire system. We don't want to change just the course period or the course structure. The structure may be different, the structure may be the old one, but the content and the process is to be more important. And that's why the committee has stressed on certain fundamental principles of this national education policy. So before going to this detailed structure of the syllabus, we shall just have a look on these different fundamental principles. For example, the first important principle is given: recognizing, identifying, and fostering unique capabilities of each student. This particular process is expected from this education policy. We have to recognize the capacity, we have to identify the capacity, and we have to give the boost to this capacity of the each student, and that capacity must be the unique capacity. So the priority to achieving the foundational literacy and numeracy by all students by grade 3 will be the second principle. See, in this education system, we try to bring the all children right from their childhood to the higher education, and the priority is given here for the foundational literacy. At present, the many children deprived from the foundational literacy of the numeracy or understanding the alphabets. So this priority is given. Flexibility to choose their own path according to their talents and interest. As we discussed, the multidisciplinary and holistic education is the another principle. The emphasis is given on the conceptual understanding. This conceptual understanding is more important in the NEP. The concept must be clear to the student, and how that concept will be cleared, this is particularly guided by the NEP, that the concept must be expressed in their home language or the mother tongue. Particularly, the home language at home is the mother tongue, and therefore up to the 5th standard, the regional language or the home language, mother tongue, should be followed as a medium of the instruction. The another principle is there, that is the creativity and critical understanding to encourage logical decision making and innovation. This principle is particularly concerned with the decision making power. The student must develop his own decision making power and innovation in their understanding. The another area of this principle is focused on the ethics and human constitutional values. Along with these ethics and the human constitutional values, the NEP also promoting the multilingualism and power of language in teaching and learning. As I explained, the power of language in teaching and learning is basically comes from the mother tongue or the home language, and that should be followed for the new education policy. Another principle is expressed there, that is the focus on regular formative assessment of learning. In the present system of education, the parents and the students are concentrating on one important examination, that is the 10th standard or the 12th standard. We say the 10th standard exam and the 12th standard exams are the turning point of the life, and accordingly these examinations are over important to the students and the parents. But here the focus is given on the regular formative assessment, and that assessment is done by the different peers or the teachers or the friends. 360-degree assessment is proposed in this national education policy. Another principle is there which is very important, that is the extensive use of the technology in teaching and learning. At present, in the period of the COVID-19, we have all been experienced the use of the technology by conducting the online teaching or the online learning. And similarly, this technology or the use of the technology in teaching and learning process on the extensive basis is also proposed in this NEP. A regulatory framework for this new education policy is also important, and that's why in this principle it is decided there should be a light but tight regulatory framework, and this regulatory framework will ensure the integrity or the transparency and the efficiency. So in this way, the different principles in this education policy, like full equity and the inclusion for all the educational decisions, or the continuous review of the progress, or the education is a public service, access to the quality education, are considered in this new education policy. When this new education policy is prepared, the vision of that policy is kept as expressed in the beginning, and that is the India a global knowledge superpower. This is the aim or this is the vision of this education policy. And for this, the education system rooted in Indian ethos that directly contributes to the transferring India, that is the Bharat. It means our old traditions, our old values, or the old ethos must be percolated in this education system. NEP must develop among the students a deep sense of the respect towards the fundamental duties and the constitutional values bonding with the one's country. So our new generation must have the respect to our constitution's ethics or the constitutional values, and the students have to follow our ancient ethos or the values too. So in this way, these basic things have been given in the 64 pages documents of the National Education Policy 2020, and these principles or the vision are more important than the structure or the content of that education policy. Now we turn to the technical structure of this new education policy. This NEP is divided in 4 parts. The part first is given there, that is for the school education. Second part is there for the higher education. Third part is given for the other key areas of focus. And last but not least, that is the governance, that is the making it happen. Let us turn towards the first part of the school education. The school education is very important right from the childhood, from the age of 3 to 18. In the earlier policy, there was the 10+2 pattern, and This 10+2 pattern was started from the age of the 6 year of a child, but now here the child will start his education from the age of 3 to 18. So this pattern of 10+2 system is replaced by the 5+3+3+4. Now in this pattern, the one important thing we have to understood here, that is this right of children for the free education in 2009 was governed by the act, and it was from the 6 to 18, but here now this extended to cover the children between 3 to 18 years. So here the child will start his education from the age of the 3 only, and that school education is divided in these 4 stages. That 4 stages are foundational, preparatory, middle classes and secondary. The 5 years period is provided for the foundational stage in the age of the 3 to 18, and here the preschool education is more important. The 3 years of preschool education and the class 1 and 2 will be covered in this foundational education. After the completion of this 5 years education, the child will go to the 3rd class and the preparatory stage will begin here. The preparatory stage from the age of 18, from the age of 8 to 11, and 3 years period is provided for this stage. The classes will cover from 3 to 5th. Thereafter, the student will go to the middle classes, 11 to 14 years age, 3 years span of the time there, and the classes covered are 6 to 8. And the last stage is the secondary stage from the age of 14 to 18, and the classes covered are 9 to 12, and this is the 4-year span. So this is very simple, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 years span, and this covers from the 3 to 18 years period, and the child will cover these all the 4 stages, that is the foundational, preparatory, middle and secondary. Now for this 4 span or the 4 stages of the education, the curriculum is also focused by the national education policy. The first stage of the foundational education curriculum is multi-level and the play activity based learning. So there will be no syllabus or the no books for the Anganwadi or the first 3 years education, and that will be completely play based. The infrastructure will be provided for the all Anganwadis. The teachers will be trained by the NCRT, and that will be provided for the foundational teaching. So this 5 years learning is very important in the period of the education. Then the second is preparatory, that will be also include the play or the discovery activities or the interactive classroom learning. And this preparatory study is covered the both activities, that is the play plus interactive classroom. The 3 years period is provided for the middle stage, and this is the experimental learning in the sciences or the mathematics, arts, social science and humanities. When the student entered in the secondary stage, in that secondary stage of the 4 years, there will be the multidisciplinary study or the greater critical thinking, flexibility and the student choice of the subject. In this way, in the old system of the education, the students have to finish the 10th exam and they have to select the higher secondary streams, maybe arts or maybe commerce or maybe science. In this new system of the education policy, they have given option to the student, that is the flexibility of the student choice of the subject. The flexibility is offered, means the students wants to learn the mathematics with geography or the physics with the Sanskrit. So this mixing of the streaming is allowed by this new education system, and that's why it becomes the multidisciplinary study, greater critical thinking, and the flexibility offered to the students for the choice of the subject. So this particular education system, when focused on this secondary stage of the education, they have mainly decided to reduce the dropout. The important problem before the education is that the dropout rate is very high in our Indian education system. The gross enrollment ratio for the grades 6 to 8 was 90.9%, while for grades 9 to 10 and 11 to 12 it was 79% or the 56% respectively. Means see, at the grade 6 to 8 the 90% students were there, and at the 11th 12th level it remains only 56%. Means near about 30% students were dropped in the process of the education. So this dropout rate should be recovered, and the second important focus is given to bring the students in the education system who are deprived from the basic understanding of the alphabets and the numbers. So there are near about 5 crore students which are deprived from the education, and this is decided to bring them in the system by 2025. And in this way this stress is given to reduce the dropout, to bring the children in the process more, and to give the students the maximum skill based education by which they will increase their attributes, they will increase their capacity to give the more outcomes. And that's why the approach to the teacher education is given in the national education policy. The teachers as we considered as the center of the process, and in that consideration by 2030 the minimum degree of qualification for teaching will be the 4 years integrated B.Ed degree after completing the 12th class. So this is the one new innovation in this new education policy. The 4 years integrated B.Ed degree is prepared, and after finishing the 12th class the student can join who wants to become a teacher for the B.Ed degree. The B.Ed is also possible for the 2 years program who have completed the bachelor's degree in the specialized subject. Again, the 1 year B.Ed program is also provided, and that is for the 4 years multidisciplinary bachelor's degree obtained or the master's degree with the special subject. Means the B.Ed is the qualification for the teachers, and this is decided to provide the teachers, trained teachers for the education system by 2030 in the ample number. So 2030 is the deadline given for providing the teachers having the minimum degree of B.Ed qualification. Then there is the one new inclusion in this national education policy, and that is the setting up of national center for the performance assessment, review, and analysis of knowledge for the holistic development. This performance assessment is very important. At present we have the old system of the performance assessment, means the 10th board exams and 12th board exam. 10th exams and the 12th board exams will be there, that will not be withdrawn, but the focus on that examination will be changed. The content and the method for conducting the examination will change, and in that way the PARAK, this assessment council, is established for the assessment of the knowledge and the holistic development. Particularly this will set the norms and the standards or the guidelines for the assessments and evaluation. It is also conducting the national achievement survey or it will monitor the achievement of learning outcomes in the country. So in this way, this is the new addition in this new education policy. Friends, this education policy expressed and discussed in the 64 pages, having the number of the points for the discussion, and it is very impossible to discuss the entire content of the educational policy in the 40 minutes or the 45 minutes. At my level best, I will try to cover the maximum content of that policy. We are turning towards now the second part of this new education policy, that is the higher education. This is more concerned to the colleges and the university, and here this higher education system is proposed the drastic changes in this education, particularly regarding to the higher education. The UG and the PG courses are reformed. Now they have suggested the 4 years UG courses with the multiple entry and exit options, as the multidisciplinary approach is proposed, and therefore the students can get the credit. So the new concept of the credit bank is also there. The students can earn the credits, and that credits will be stored in a credit bank. So this is just like a bank account in the nationalized bank or in the cooperative bank. So that credit will be earned, and that will be kept as a balance in its credit bank. So 4 years UG courses with the multiple entry and the multiple exit options is provided. And if the students entered after the 12th standard for the graduation course, and he could complete only 1 year, and after 1 year he is not in a position to continue that course because of certain problems or the economic condition, then after 1 year the students can get a certificate. If he completed this 2 years program, then he can get a diploma. After 3 years the students completed, then he can get a degree. So the 3 years degree is there, and if the students want to continue for the research activity also, then he can continue in the 4 years, and the 4 year degree program will be completed with research. So in that way, there is the multiple entry and the multiple exit options for the graduation. Once the graduation is completed, he can enter for the master programs. The master programs is also reformed. There may be the 2 year program with the second year devoted entirely to the research to those who have completed the 3 years bachelor program. It means that the 3 years degree completed, then you can do 3 plus 2, 5 years master program. If you completed 4 years bachelor program, then you can complete 1 year's master program, means 4 plus 1, 5 years program. There may be an integrated 5 years bachelor plus master program. So at a time you can enter for the master, bachelor and the master program, and accordingly that program will be framed out. Now in the just last week, the UGC came with the one draft of the graduation for the central universities, and draft is open for the feedback and the discussion, and accordingly that draft provides the structure of this bachelor program and the master program. The PhD program is there, and this PhD program can be continued after the completion of the master degree. And for this all the program, there will be the entry examinations or the entrance examination, and that examinations will be conducted by the National Test Agency, and that entrance examinations are applicable for the every entry of the higher institution. So higher education institutions will focus on its quality, and the quality will be maintained with the multiple verification and assessment or the valuation of the students. So the assessment and the accreditation is done by the various authorities, and the quality will be maintained in the all higher education institution. As the bachelor program or the master programs and the PhD program is suggested under this reform of the education policy, the MPhil program shall be discontinued. There will be no MPhil program in the higher education now. So in this way, this master and the bachelor programs is provided. This higher education stream or the part of the higher education is mainly focused to increase the gross enrollment ratio, which is called as a GER. This gross enrollment ratio at present is 26.3% only, and the commission decided to increase this GER by up to 50% by 2035. As I have spoken about the dropouts, if the dropout is controlled, then automatically this GER ratio will be increased. The multidisciplinary education, as we discussed, and similarly the big higher education institutions having the good infrastructure, having the multidisciplinary teaching learning programs will be available, and like IITs or the IIMs, these HEI means higher education institutions will be developed for the multidisciplinary education of the global standard. And that's why this global standard or the global quality of education should be provided in this higher education institution. As well as the HEI also provide the vocational courses. Vocational programs is also the important consideration in this national education policy, because the skill development is more important. At present, we are observing that our students pass the graduation but not able to get the job. That education given in the BCom or the BSc or the arts and humanities streams may not be useful in the offices or the organizations like corporate sector. So that should be improved with the vocational education. This vocational education will start from the secondary level only, and it will be continued in the higher education also. As we discussed, the academic bank of credit will be there. It will be the digital store of academic credits earned by the learner from the various higher education institution, and degrees can be awarded taking into account the credits earned by the students. This is one of the important addition in our new education system, that is the regulatory system of the higher education. Regulation, accreditation, funding, and the academic standard setting, these are the four structures will be set up as a four independent bodies within the one umbrella of HECI. HECI stands for the Higher Education Commission of India, and this higher education commission of India will govern the entire system, regulate the entire system of the higher education. Under this HECI, the first organization for regulation is, that is the NHERC, that is the National Higher Education Regulating Council for the teacher education, and it will exclude the medical and the legal education. It will cover only the arts, science, commerce, and the important streams of humanities. So NHERC, this is the regulating authority. Second is NAC, that will be the National Accreditation Council for recognition of HEI. Third is HEGC, means Higher Education Grants Council for financial grants to the HEI. The funding activity is regulated by Higher Education Grants Council. And the last is there, that is GEC, stands for General Education Council. This is for graduation attributes and the general education. Graduation attributes means outcomes. What should be the outcomes of the education, that will be governed by the GEC. So in this way, this is the regulatory system of higher education. So in this way, the higher education is covered for the UG program as well as the master program, and the research is more focused in this national education policy. For this purpose, the new regulatory authorities, HECI, is established, and that will boost the research too through the NRF, National Research Foundation. The third part of the national education policy is there, that is the other areas of the focus. The many other areas have been covered in this national education policy. and that includes the professional education. It is an integral part of the overall higher education system. That professional education is also covered. Then adult education and lifelong learning. This is also discussed in the other areas of the focus. Then the agricultural, legal, health science, technical, and the other field universities that will be standalone and that aim to become the multidisciplinary institutions offering the holistic and the multidisciplinary education. This is also explained in this education policy. Then the third focus is given there, the technology use and integration. The use of technology like the digitalization or the students friendly with the coding language or the computer, these are all covered in this national education policy. Online and digital education is one of the feature in the other areas of the focus. So in that way, this education policy is mainly focused on the multidisciplinary, on the student centered policy, and it is mainly covered the overall development or the holistic development of the learner. Now the policy is written and published and implemented in the country from the year 2022. Now the government is taking steps for the implementation of this new education policy. The new education policy, if someone said you mention in one sentence, then how we can say what will be the new education policy? The new education policy is prepared in such a way that will develop the entire attributes and the skills of a students, and it will maintain a balance of the four Qs. The first is IQ, that means the intelligent quotient. The second is PQ, means the physical education. Then the third is the EQ, means the emotional quotient. And the last but not least, that is the SQ, means the spiritual quotient. So these all the four quotients should be balanced: intellectual quotient, emotional quotient, physical quotient, and the spiritual quotient. And if these all the quotients are properly balanced through our learning system, through our education system, then naturally we can produce the good citizens who will lead our country at the global level, and that will be really a superpower of the knowledge at the global level. Now the last part is there, that is the making it happen, the implementation part. The implementation of this policy will be led by the various bodies. As the last slide also explained, the HECI is the main regulatory authority. Under that, NAC and the funding agencies will be work. And in addition to that, the MHRD or the union and the state governments, education related ministries, regulatory bodies of the school, boards, NCRT, SCERTs, schools and higher education's management, these all the bodies are there will implement the new education policy. This implementation part is more important. Once that policy is started to implement from 2022, it will take a time up to 2040 to implement this policy full-fledged. So as I told in one sentence, this new education policy is particularly prepared, having really a fantastic foundation, and that policy will help us to create innovation or the use of the new technologies or the use of the holistic approach and the multidisciplinary approach at all the levels, bringing the students right from their childhoods and covering the all areas and the inclusive system of the education, and naturally our country will lead at the global level very strongly and very confidently with this education new policy. So here I again gives a thanks to this Thakur College and the KLE College of Education Society, Kalamboli, for inviting me to participate in this e-national conference on the theme of the national education policy. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.